As everyday people, we don't always have a chance to talk about our life, to be heard, but we've all got a story. And this is Destiny's. Hello, Destiny.
Hello.
Thank you so much for joining me today.
Absolutely no problem.
So we have met each other before, sort of, in the weird COVID world.
In the COVID world, yes.
Basically, the National Fostering Group had to take everything online during the pandemic, like a lot of places did. So we've done loads of live videos educating people about fostering, and you've been on a good few of them, really, haven't you?
I have. Lost count really now.
Yeah, it's been quite a few.
It has.
And you help to educate people about fostering because, you have been a foster child or a young person within the fostering system yourself, haven't you?
I have indeed.
But I think you've got so much to talk about and so much to tell us. I think we've only just scratched the surface with you.
I think that's very true, to be honest.
Because whenever we have chatted, I've always thought, wow, she's so wise and she's had so many experiences. And I'm really keen to learn more about you and your outlook on life, the experiences you've had, the things you've learned, maybe the difficult times that you've been through, and to hear your story. So should we start from the beginning then? I mean, I know, where is the beginning for you?
The beginning. So I was put into the foster system when I was 10 months old.
Yeah.
I had inflicted many injuries as a baby through the hands of someone else. And I was put into the system for my safety. And I then was in there till I was 18. So it was a very long time. Yeah. So I've got a very wide experience of the foster system. I was bounced around a little bit, and then I was placed under guardianship within a relative for a couple of years, but that didn't work out. That was down to a breakdown of placement. There was a lot of neglect and a lot of abuse going on in the home. So I was then moved again into another foster home. So that is kind of my first memory fully of knowing from me first moving into the system. Yeah. Because before that, you're toddler age, you don't really know what's going on. You just go along with the world, don't you?
Yeah. Yeah.
And then so after I moved in with those foster carers, that placement broke down because I don't like saying this, but I was a very troubled child.
Okay.
I had been through a lot. I was very angry. I was very all over the place. And there was other children in the home and some of them had learning difficulties, and it just did not work for me because it was so strict and routine. And I'm not a routine person. I just try and, I'm very... I have to have everything in a checklist, but I cannot have a routine. I don't know. It's strange, but so when that placement broke down, I moved into another carer's. However, being in that previous home, I was put into respite a lot, literally maybe twice a month because I was so uncontrollable. At that age, I was about 7 to 9, 10. I was so uncontrollable. But yeah, I moved into my last foster placement, which lasted, they're still my family. So yeah, I have moved around in like different times, but they've not been longer placements.
Yeah.
So that is literally just from the longest placements I've been in, and I've been in smaller placements in between, the bridging, but people can class them as bridging placements, where you stay for like 2-3 months at a time and then you move on. So that's my life in a general sense.
Yeah, so that's like a sort of potted version of your life and what's happened.
Yeah.
And I feel like I've got loads of questions now, Destiny. So if we do go back to the beginning, as you say, you were 10 months old when you were first put into foster care. You obviously do not remember that. As none of us remember being 10 months old. So do you remember realising that maybe you weren't like the other kids in school, that maybe you weren't living with your birth parents like maybe the majority of people were? Do you remember realising that? Were you ever told?
So that really messed me up. When I found out, it messed me up as a kid. So I found out at 4. So when I was 4 years old, I found out that the relative I was living with was not my mum.
Okay.
And I had been growing up calling her mum, because when you are moved around as a toddler and then when you learn to talk, you automatically assume that they're your parents, or they go, mum, blah, 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 blah.
Yeah.
So I was told that she was not my mum and that I was to meet my biological mother the following week, and that threw me massively. I met her, I met my biological mother at that time, and then I started having contact with her regularly, which obviously as a child throws you, because you are then building a new relationship with a new person.
Yeah.
Completely. And yeah, that really mucked me up for a couple of years, I think, because I was so all over the place trying to figure out who this woman was and what had happened. And there was lots of secrecy around why I was placed in with my other relative to not being with her, and there was lots of secrecy to why there was social services around, and there was meetings, and the school was so involved. There was so much secrecy I wasn't told. So I think for a child, you are like all over the place. There's so many different people you're constantly meeting, and you have no idea why you're meeting them, because you don't get anything explained to you. Especially at 4 or 5, people are just going to assume that you can waddle through it and get through it, but it is tough. It is tough.
Yeah, so you said it messed you up. How did that manifest?
That manifested in lots of anger outbursts. So as a child, I do remember getting really angry and smashing loads of things and throwing things. I would run away. I would do all sorts. What else? Sorry, I'm just thinking. So I would like smash loads of things. I would get into fights with my brother constantly, bless his heart. We'd be in physical fights. I would just, anything for me to have an outlet, to be angry, I would. And still now sometimes, anger outbursts, that's literally the way I've been taught myself, because the way you release your anger is the way you've seen other people release their anger. So you are taught how to, as children, what you learn is what you've been taught. You don't automatically know how to cope with your feelings. You watch other people and how they cope. So the behaviour I was displaying at that age was the behaviour that was going on in my household. So it wasn't unusual. But then that was conflicting from when I moved into my the foster carers after that. They found that really hard to cope with, because I thought that was normal everyday family behaviour, being angry, smashing things, throwing things, punching people, kicking people, swearing at everyone. I thought that was normal behaviour, but it's really not. And I think that was really hard for me to get to a grip, especially with so many other people in the home. I think there was 2, 3, like 6, 7 people in the home from when I moved into a new foster carers. So there was 4 children in the home altogether, 3 foster children, and then one of their biological sons, and then the 2 adults. And I think I found that very, very hard, because I was used to having 3 people in the home and loads of animals instead of just pure people. I'm a people person, but I'm not a people person at the same time. So I found that extremely, extremely hard.
And you say there were other foster children as well, so obviously they're all bringing their
100%,
issues and their stories
100%
as well. So what was that like?
It was horrific. It was absolutely horrific. I remember it so clearly. I was the worst, unfortunately. I literally smashed everything all the time. I felt really sorry for the foster carer now. Like, growing up, you look back and you go, I was really, really bad. But for the other children, I think it made them worse as well, because I was getting so much attention, because I was constantly in an angry state that these other children wanted attention as well. And that became very, very hard for the carers at the time. But then that's the reality of being in care. That is the reality of being in the foster system. You are coming in with issues that maybe not everyone experiences, or maybe not everyone experiences to the extent that some foster children experience. So you need to find an outlet, and sometimes by going into foster placements, that is where the outlet comes in, because that's where you are in a safe environment and you can let out all your anger and you can let out all your emotions and all your feelings to do with everything that's happened. Even if you can't verbally say what you've been through, you are physically showing what you're going through, through outbursts, if you run away, if you swear at someone, you know that behavior is not okay, but you also know that you're asking for help. Do you know what I mean? It's extremely, extremely hard. But then growing up, I think I've learned massively to control my anger and know when something is too much for me and know to walk away. And I think that is something that is extremely hard to learn. And I think that's why a lot of youth get into trouble, because they don't know properly how to fully outlet their anger and outlet their emotions, because people automatically assume just get over it, stop being over dramatic, when actually those emotions mean more than the world to them, but someone else, an outsider, might not understand that. Do you see what I mean?
Yeah.
So I think that's been extremely hard. Growing up, that is one thing that I've struggled with, I guess.
So you talked about how your difficult behaviour as a child was basically you asking for help. You crying out for help.
100%.
Can you remember when you received help, who helped you and how that felt?
So I was a stubborn child and didn't really accept help. So people would try and help. So I was put under the CAMHS service in about 8, 9, and I kind of participated and I kind of didn't. I kind of shut down because there were so many people involved in my life, and I felt that my carers at the time were keeping a lot of stuff, because they don't want to overwhelm a child, do they? They don't want to sit there and go, this is everything that's happening. They hadn't sit and explain everything, because that is also very overwhelming for a child. I don't think they could sit there and explain everything to me, because that is a way of safeguarding a child as well. So I think for me, I'm a very nosy person. I like to know everything that's going on. And as a kid, I just didn't feel like I was getting enough information about everything. So I just shut down and I didn't say a thing. I was very withdrawn from my feelings. And the only way I did express that was through anger. I think when I was about 15 when I was put back into CAMHS, and about when I was about 17, I don't know, something happened, and since then I've been an emotional wreck. Like, I cry over everything, and it's brilliant, because I would not cry. I would just be angry, and now if I'm really over emotional, I just cry, and that's amazing, because I was not like that really as a kid. I would be so overwhelmed with everything, and now I just cry all the time, and it's brilliant. And some people are like, why are you crying? I'm going, don't worry about it, it's fine.
I think you're absolutely right there, because a lot of the time what I think ends up manifested in bad behaviour, difficult behaviour, is that people don't express their emotions properly. They're not able to. They don't feel safe to. So when was that moment that it sounds like you were sort of unlocked, like, suddenly you were able to emote?
So this is a really personal, it's personal, it's also could be a very triggering topic. Okay. When I was 15, I battled with a lot of mental health problems. I battled with suicidal thoughts. I battled with suicidal acts. I battled with self-harm. I battled with eating disorders. I battled with I have anxiety. I battled with so many different things that I was put into intense therapy. I was put into art therapy. I was still so shut down in art therapy that I didn't speak to her. I was with her for about 1.5 years. I didn't speak to her at all. But after we had finished our sessions, that's when I was unlocked. I just became so emotional over everything. It was just one of these things where I just felt like I didn't have to speak to her, and that I just could outlet like over my normal daily life. And that after we had finished, I felt like I didn't need to talk about my weekly basis of life and go, I don't need to moan about that now, because I can understand that and I can cope with those emotions that come with it and what had happened in the past. You know, I've been through a lot of abuse. I've been through a hell of lot of abuse and neglect as a child, and up to, you know, and sometimes through a teenager. It was one of those things for me where I can sit back and I can go, that has happened. I can move on from that. That's not a problem. I can understand that. I don't necessarily have to forgive that person. Mm-hmm. And a lot of people say to move on, you have to forgive. And in my opinion, if you feel at peace with what has happened, even though it's hurt you, you don't have to forgive. I by no means have forgiven people. I've forgiven some people, but I haven't forgiven others. But I'm at peace with it because it's happened and I can't go back and change it. I can't. And I think that is one thing that's helped me unlock it, because I can't go back and change the past. All I can do is change the future and change my future generation of children and grandchildren and help other people in my surrounding circle and go, if they go through something, just go, you know, you're there for them and you're able to help other people understand their feelings as well. I think for me, it's just one of these things where I've gone, yeah, it's happened. I'm not shut down from the feelings. I've cried about it. I've gone through the motions. You know, you wallow, you eat your ice cream and you're just sitting there watching TV. That you go through the motions, but once you're through the motions, you pick yourself up and you go, I've got one life to live. I've got to live it. I can't sit here and wallow about other people's problems. Because at the end of the day, what's happened to you isn't a reflection of you. It's a reflection of that person and what that person is feeling. So if you've been hit, it's a reflection of that other person. Do you understand what I mean? If you've unfortunately been sexually assaulted, it's a reflection on that person and how that person's either been raised or that person mentally. It's not a reflection on you. It's not a reflection on what you wear. It's not a reflection on anything other than the person that's doing the act. And I think a lot of people feel a lot of guilt for those types of things because they think it's their fault, and it's really not. But there isn't enough people going, it's not your fault. And that is something that I did struggle with. But now I'm such an ambassador for it. It you know, it's crazy.
So you talk about coming to a peaceful place with things that have happened to you, and, you know, and as you said, you don't always have to forgive. You know, you can just move forward in a different way. It sounds to me like it's acceptance, isn't it?
It is acceptance, and that's a massive deal. That is a really huge deal. And I don't think a lot of people reach acceptance. I think a lot of people sit and wallow for too long. And there is a wallowing. And I mean, I wallowed for about 15 years, so don't worry about it. It's not like I'm going to sit there for 2 hours and wallow. No, you wallow and you get out, and then you work through your feelings, and you're like, now it's my time to pick myself up, go through it. Do you see what I mean?
Yeah.
I think when I was 15, I was told that I wasn't going to make it to my 16th birthday. I would have been dead by then because of what I had been going through. And now I'm in uni. I'm literally thriving. I'm doing so well. I have a little dog. I live with my boyfriend. I'm having the life I wanted to have.
Yeah.
Even after dealing with all those emotions. So, and I've not put it in the past. I think about it, and that's not a bad thing, because when you think about something, it's not I don't cry about it. I just think about it and go, that's happened. I've got through it, and look where I am now. I'm doing so well.
Yeah.
You see what I mean?
And what do you think are the main things that have helped you to move forward from your past and to make sense of everything that happened to you in your childhood and in your teens?
So a lot of people, I would suggest, would say knowing their story. I don't fully know all of my story. There's a lot of secrecy still around my past, and there's lots of different stories. So for me, I've not been able to move on through like knowing the full story. I think for me, I've just had to move on and gone and go, well, that person wasn't very nice to me. I'm no longer in their life. They're no longer in my life. I just have to move on now. I literally just have to move on and be on my own and be there for me and me only. I think that's very hard, and not many people might not get that. I'm not entirely sure. I think you just have to put you first in every single situation, no matter what. And then that is what helps me move on, because when I go, no, that's too triggering, I'm not going to go do that. That's too triggering. I'm staying at home. Or no, I'm going to go do that. And then say someone else goes, I've had this before, I'm not going, it's too triggering. Or that other person's going, I'm not going, that's too triggering. And I say, no, it's not triggering for me, but I'm going to go, and then I'll tell you about it when I get home. Or things like that. It's the balancing act of what you can cope with.
Yeah. Protecting yourself.
It's protecting yourself and safeguarding yourself. And I don't think many people do that enough. It's about putting your foot down in areas. I mean, I don't put my foot down enough. I do let people walk over me sometimes. And I don't mind that, because that's just family, or that's just friends. That's life, isn't it? I don't want to be seen as like the person that, is so hard to talk to and can't talk to, and they're not a nice person. Like, I don't mind. I'm a very chatty person, but sometimes from the outside, I think people think I'm quite rude, because I'm constantly like, I don't smile a lot.
You're very smiley today.
I know. That's the thing, because I'm talking to someone. But when I'm on my own, I don't smile a lot, because I'm always in my own little world. And I think that is a good thing, because I'm constantly safeguarding myself from other people. And that is not because I'm afraid of those other people. That is because I don't want to get so involved in that other person's life, even if they're like a stranger, or I don't want to get so involved that I'm feeling like I have to either fix them, or they're getting too involved in my life, and then, they find out something about my past and then they throw it back in your face. Like, people do that, and I don't want to be dealing with that. Do you see what I mean?
Yeah.
So I think for me to move on from my past, I've had to sit there. I've done it multiple times. I've written out everything multiple times by hand on the computer, just because the more you write something out, the more you remember things. The more you remember things. And I think for me, I've then been able to go, okay, that happened there, and I'm fine with that. And that is for me to move on, I've only done that through the memories I fully remember. And then I've been able to go, that's fine, and move on. I think that's, for me, that's what I've done. And I've just self-care, all the little things as well build up. Self-care, having a bath, putting a face mask on, I don't know, girly things. All of those different things help you to move on, because you're doing something for you. You're putting a smile on your own face. You're not relying on someone else to put a smile on you. You are going out of your way and making yourself feel good about it. So I think that's a really important thing, if you are trying to move on, to put yourself first in every single situation. It's difficult when you've got kids and things like that, but take the kids out of the scenario. You put yourself first. If you don't like the path you're going down, you try and fix that for yourself. Do you see what I mean? So yeah, I think that's, for me, what I've done to try and move on from everything. I think it's an ongoing thing as well, to be fair. You're never ever going to get completely over everything. I think it's definitely an ongoing thing that you are constantly dealing with, because there's different triggers that pop up in life. I do hate the word triggers, by the way, and I know I'm saying it a lot. I feel like triggers is just such a bad word to use, but there's a lot of I will say it again, triggers that can pop up in life. So say you have a kid and you are worried that something that happened to you as a kid will repeat itself in the child. Like, there's loads of different things. Or you go along and a friend has been through the same thing you've been through, and then that brings it all up again for you. Or a family member, or anything like that. Anyone close to you that has been through something then similar to you, you are then brought up with all the memories again, and you're trying to then have to deal with those again. So I think it's constantly just trying to stay away from things that might bring it all up, so much so that you have to sit there and wallow all over again. Do you see what I mean? Because that's just not fair on you,
In your sort of day-to-day life, though, like in social situations, or maybe when you meet people new people, how much of your past do you share? Does everyone know that Destiny grew up in foster care, or do you not always share that?
I am a very open person and I hate it. I do hate it a lot of the time. So
you're an open book, aren't you?
I am.
Which is great.
Not always.
When is it not good then?
So I look back to secondary school. I think I told everyone that I was in care, or they all found out. I don't really know. It kind of happened along those lines. And I feel like I got bullied quite a lot because there was times that people said, oh, you're not with your own family, or I want to be in care. I want to be in foster care. And they think it's a luxurious life. And don't get me wrong, people do try, and they try and make you happy, and they provide as much as they can for you. However, it does not be living with your own family. As much as people say, oh, I hate my mum, I hate my dad, I hate my sister, I wish I was in the system. No, you don't, because you don't get to see your family often. A lot of foster children only get to see their family twice a year. Not even that. Yeah. And that is down to what has happened to them in their past. So I think for me, that was one thing I regretted saying, because I had a lot of comments like that growing up. I also was bullied a lot because I was the odd one out, massively the odd one out. And I wasn't exactly the slimmest of kids in secondary school growing up. So that also didn't help. I think I was just the odd one out. I'm not very... I don't really fit in with the social crowds of these days. I'm on the outskirts because I can be quite quiet in new situations. And if I don't like someone, I'm very open about it. And I know I shouldn't be, but I don't want to talk to people if I don't feel like I'm going to not get on with them, because that is, again, putting myself in a situation where I need to protect myself from feeling like I have to be angry, or I'm upset, or I walk away feeling like, oh, that person doesn't like me. Why doesn't that person like me? Am I too fat? No. Am I too, those types of things. And you're never too big, because everyone is their own individual person. But for me, when I walk away from things, I go, oh, were my legs too big? Or did they not like my face? Did they not like my hair? Am I too bubbly? Am I too talkative? Am I too this? Am I too that? Those are the types of things that I could walk away from a conversation going. And that is because I'm still finding my way into a happy medium, or finding the way I can comfortably talk with people I'm not going to get on with. And that is something I'm still working on to this day. That is something I'm definitely still working on to this day.
So you talked about putting yourself first and protecting yourself and safeguarding yourself, and how important that is. But it sounds like you do really care about other people as well.
I really do. And that is, I really do.
And because you're sharing your story so much because you want to help others. So can you tell us more about
that? It actually can be to a downfall. I get told all the time that I'm helping others more before that I'm helping my own self. I mean, I do... Can you elaborate on that?
So how important is it for you to use your story to help other people?
Okay, yeah, I see where you're coming from. I think it's very important for me. I think I have a lot to share and a lot to talk about. I mean, we've only just scratched the surface so far, and I think I think for me, when I sit down and talk to people, I'll only ever share something with someone that, if it relates to that moment, you see. So if I have a friend, going through a massive, horrific time in their life, I'll sit there and I'll go, don't worry, you can actually get through this. Sit back, have a cuppa. I love my tea. Have a cuppa, have a biscuit.
Tea solves everything, doesn't it?
It really seriously does. I have like 5, 6, maybe 10 of those a day. Sit there with a cuppa. It's brilliant. It's probably why I'm late to a lot of things, because I'm just finishing off my cuppa at home and then I walk 5 minutes out the house. I love using my story to help others, but then I don't want to come across. I feel like sometimes it can come across like I'm trying to one-up someone as well. So you have to sit there and you have to be very vigilant in the way you talk to someone about it, and vigilant in the way that you describe something that's happened to you and how it can relate to them. So say I was hit, for example, and you go, and a friend or a family member comes and goes, I was just hit. I'll go, how are you feeling? What's going on? I feel like I really care about a lot of people, and I will drop a lot of things for family, and I will drop a lot of things for friends, because those are the people you've got at the end of the day. If you don't help other people, then you're going to be on your own, really. You've got to really branch out and really help other people and be there for them, because that's all you've got at the end of the day. You've got in your life, you've got your family and probably like 3 friends that will stick by you your entire life, or at different aspects in your life. And those are the people you want to hold close, because if you don't hold them close, you're going to have no one. You're going to feel lonely. You're going to be depressed. You're going to be more full of anxiety because you can't release anything. So those are the people you should be dropping everything for and going, yeah, I'm going to help you out. Sorry, I can't work today, or I can't do this. I've got to help them out. Because at the end of the day, money doesn't mean anything to family and love and caring and nurture. Money doesn't mean anything to me in that respect. Family means everything to me. Friends mean everything. Love, caring, nurturing, and being there for people means more to me. And I think maybe that's because I've been through so much in my life that I've just sat there and I've gone, I don't care what wage I'm on. I would love to be on a good wage, hence why I'm in uni. Like, I'm trying to build a career for myself. But at the end of the day, I would drop work if I had to and go, I've got to be there for my family. I'm sorry, but those are the people I've got after I retire. These are the people I've got to live with. Not technically live with, but be around, live around, go see, be friends with, or be friendly with. These are the people that make your life. These are the memories that will stick by you, and not working. Because at the end of the day, when you're 60, you'll either go, 70, you'll either go, oh, I hated working for the last 40 years. It was the worst career I've ever chosen. Or you'll go, I loved my career, but I was also there for my family, and I have such great memories. And you've lived your life. Do you know what I mean? Mm-hmm. To live your life, you can live it for yourself, but you've also got other people around you, because at the end of the day, you can't live your entire life on your own, because that would make your life so entirely lonely.
Yeah, so it's relationships, isn't it?
100%.
Important things.
And I think that's something that I've seriously learned, because I'm not great at building relationship. I'm not great at making new friends, because I can get quite scared and anxious about making them. But I think I've learned that is something I have to seriously work on throughout my entire life. Plus, I'm a caring person anyway. I'm a very caring person anyway. And I don't want to sound too egotistical here, but I am. Like, I just try and... I'm always happy and everything around family and friends, whatever. I try and always be caring to absolutely everybody. Even neighbours, I try and be caring to all of them. So, yeah, I just guess it's just in my nature as well, which is rare for people to have that constantly in their nature. But it's a good thing. And that's something I do like about myself,
yeah.
Which is a good thing. Yeah.
So we've talked a lot about your past, but your present and your future, what about that? What does that look like? You've touched on the fact that you have a partner, don't you?
Yes.
So can you tell us about maybe what you see the future holding for you and your partner?
Wow. Ooh, okay. This is a really out of there question. If he listens to this is going to be interesting.
Yeah, where do you see yourself in 10 years' time?
In 10 years, hopefully a couple of little kiddos walking around, a little running. Definitely a career, hopefully. People always say have a career before having children and all of this, but I think whatever happens. I'm very chill with it. Whatever happens in my 20s happens in my 20s. Do you know what I mean? And then I'll just work with it. I'll just have to ride along with it. I'd love a career. I'm looking at a couple of different career paths, which is good. I'm looking at either joining the police force. I'd like to work in the CID unit if I could. Wow. But I think that's very hard to get into because there's like not a load of jobs around for that specific role. I'd love to, if that doesn't work out, I'd look at being a data analyst. It's very interesting for me, very interesting. Or I'd look in the prison service. I'd love to work in the criminal justice system in an aspect of it. If I decide to go in a different path, maybe I'd take a PhD and see if I can get it in law or anything and go down that path. I would like to do it in the criminal justice system. I think that's because of everything I've been through, and I have had a lot of police involvement in my life. Mm-hmm. And I think for me, I'd like to see the other side. Mm-hmm. So it's like a train platform. One side is all of your past and all of your memories, and the other side is you know, the professionalism side, and I'd like to see what it's like on the professionalism side and how that impacts people on the other side of the train platform. Do you see what I mean? Yeah. And that's something I'm really interested about, and how how I, as one person, can impact someone if I'm doing a case, can impact that one person. Do you see what I mean?
Yeah.
Or impact the society as a whole, because at the end of the day, if you're joining the police force, you're protecting society and protecting the community. So I'd like to see like how that is all done and how that's all goes about. Do you see what I mean?
Yeah.
I think future-wise, yeah, that is what's going on there. Right now in this moment, I am happy. I've got a little dog. She is 11 months old. She's about to turn 1 in like a week. She is a nightmare. She is beautiful. She's gorgeous. She knows she's sweet. She knows she's gorgeous, but she is a nightmare. She loves to rip everything up. She loves it. She'll go in our bathroom cabinet. She'll take all the toilet roll out. And we've come in and she's put it all down the stairs, all in the living room, everywhere, in the office, in the bedroom. Oh, it is hectic. And then what? We're wiping our butts with like half done toilet roll, because you're not going to waste it. It's a waste of money that way. She's really sweet. And at the moment, I'm just in uni, second year. Studying criminology and sociology of quantitative methods.
Wow.
Yeah, it's a lot. But it's fun, actually. It's really, really fun. The way they split it up, which is good. After Christmas, it's just purely sociology. So I'm not overly looking forward to that. I more enjoy the quantitative side.
So as somebody who's grown up in the care system, can you ever imagine doing that yourself?
So actually, this is really strange. When I was in year 2, I remember this day so completely. I was looking at the stairs and I go, in 11 years, I'm going to be in, I think it was 11 years, or something like that. My math was not great, but I said, in this specific amount of years, I'm going to be in university. And I was. And I think only about 6% of foster children actually make it to university. Not many of us do. And I think that's maybe because of support. There's not a lot of support out there for us. And even though people say there is, and there is loads, there's just caseloads that are piled high on these poor social workers' desks. And that's the only time you'll sit here and I will go, I feel sorry for social workers, because I do understand that they've got a high caseload, and that is something that I know that they can't fully give everything and all the time into them. So I think people slip through the cracks, and then they don't get to do everything that they want to do, and then they go into crime or they go into different things because they don't know what they didn't have enough support in order to do what they wanted to do. So yeah, I think I always knew I was going to go to uni, and I always wanted to go to uni. I just didn't know if I could make it to uni, but I have, and I'm doing it, and I'm doing really well. So I think if you just think about something you want to do, it'll eventually happen, and because you manifest things. I think I've been really in that at the moment, manifesting everything that I want to come true, and it does, because it makes you excited to work towards something, and it makes you excited to keep on trying, keep on working hard, because if you don't give yourself goals, what have you got to live for? What have you got to work towards, you know? So I think those are the types of things that I do, and I kind of just sit here and I think about and do and get to, and I'm doing it, you know. And
you've had some really interesting experiences as well. Like, you've been on TV. You were on Steph's Packed Lunch, weren't you?
I was.
Can you tell us about that with Kerry Katona? Tell us about that.
I was. It was fun. I was nervous. I was so nervous, and it was just purely because it was going to be on national television. I was just like, oh my goodness. Kerry is a lovely woman. She is a lovely, lovely woman. She is so out there and so loud like me, but I was so shy that day. I think I wasn't as loud. It was actually brilliant talking about everything and talking about what our own experiences were. I think the clip did represent our chat, but we were chatting for hours. So there was loads that you pack into like small little segments that get put online, and you don't fully get to like explain everything to what the extent that you want to explain it to.
Yeah, so what was the sort of angle? What were they talking about?
They were talking about how the foster carers, well, they are foster carers, but my parents, my family now, how they were now turned into my forever family, and how much of a beautiful story it was that they took me on, and that they allowed me to be a part of their family and allowed me to grow as a human being without restraints of feeling like I'm in care, and without restraints of professionals coming in all the time asking me questions. They were very relaxed. They allowed me to do a lot of the things that I wanted to do. And that is what enabled me to grow. Because believe it or not, the foster carers that I was placed with, they were not supposed to be my forever family. I was supposed to go into a residential home because I was such an uncontrollable child. But I thrived there because I was on my own as well. There was no other kids. They didn't have any dogs at the time. They had a bird and a cat, and I'm so allergic to cats though. And I thrived in their environment, and now they've got 2 dogs thanks to me and my pushing. Can we get a dog? Can we get a dog? Now they've got 2, and now I've got one of my own as well. So they all have fun together, and I've been really put in with people that I've got on so well with, and now I'm just family to them all over, even their children. They are my siblings. I was just working for a sibling last week and on her business, and then and now I've got nephews because they've all had children since me living with them, and now I've got little nephews running about, all under 3, and then it's amazing, absolutely incredible. And I didn't know a family could be that loving and that caring and that nurturing. Even though they were so lax with everything, it was allowed me to come to terms and find my own identity.
Yeah. So this is a nice sort of point to end on, really, Destiny.
Yeah.
But, we've talked about your upbringing and your experiences and how difficult they were. We've talked about how accepting all of it is really crucial, isn't it?
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah.
100%.
And then you've just talked then about finally feeling part of a family and those relationships that are so important. How does it feel to finally feel like part of a family, feel wanted and a sense of belonging, I suppose?
It feels really, really good. And anyone who sits there and goes that foster children are not wanted are not correct at all. I have had someone say that to me before, and that is totally not correct. When you find the correct foster home, or when you are placed into the correct foster home or with the correct people, you thrive, and you're thriving because you're doing so well. You're doing so well in school. You're doing well with friends. You're doing well with yourself. Yeah. You are feeling good. And don't forget, you are also thriving even if you are going through a tough patch, because remember, that means you're in a safe environment for you to go through that tough patch and get through it. And just remember that hopefully those people will stick by you, and then you'll come out the other end, and maybe you'll get to uni, maybe you won't, maybe you'll go to college and then get a full-time job and do really well. Like, maybe you'll have a kid and that will be the making of you. I'm not saying go do that before the age of 25. But these are the types of things that are positives. So just, take time for yourself and just chill and just relax into it, and just remember it's just one life and there's so many more years to go. I think I've got 70 years left of my life, hopefully. So 60 maybe.
You've been counting them down?
No, well, because as I said, checklists. I said I love my checklists.
Destiny, thank you so much for speaking to me today. It's been an absolute pleasure, and best of luck with the future. I can see you've got such a happy and positive future ahead of you. Thank you. So best of luck with it.
It's been great to meet you in real life.
So if you found this podcast interesting and you'd like to find out more, visit nfa.co.uk.